Hi, everyone. This is Rico Figliolini, host of Urban Ebb, a podcast that we do here north of Atlanta, smart city of Peachtree Corners. And we are in Curiosity Lab with a special guest today, Katherine Lafourcade, who's the executive director of the French-American Chamber of Commerce here in Peachtree Corners. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, I appreciate it. This is going to be a great conversation, I'm sure. But before we get into that, I just want to say thank you to our two sponsors, both here located in Peachtree Corners also. Vox Populi is one. You have a brand, you have a business, you have an organization, you need that brand out on something, whether it's clothing or vehicle wrap, or you go to a trade show, or you want your logo on that unusual object that you came up with. They can do it. They can almost do anything. So check them out at Vox Populi. Also, EV Remodeling, Inc. Eli is the owner. They're based here in Peachtree Corners. Eli lives here with his family as well. They have done, I think, over 258 home renovations, from design to build, your bathroom, your kitchen, you need an extension on the house, you need to close in your deck. They could do anything. So check them out at evremodelinginc.com. And both of those sponsors are great sponsors. We appreciate them supporting these podcasts and the magazines and the journalism that we do. So thanks there. Now let's get into the conversation, because Katherine has a great story, and a challenging story to a degree, right? So
very true.
But let's start with first that you're the executive director for the French-American Chamber of Commerce, newly located to Peachtree Corners, right?
Yeah, I mean, actually, since 2021, so going back a little bit, but before that it was in Buckhead, in the consulate building, and there was a decision to bring us out to Peachtree Corners, to be located in the heart of Curiosity Lab, which I think was an amazing decision. Makes a lot of sense for us to be here.
Sure. There's so many, I mean, we get countries that come in from Ukraine to visit this place, and Israel, and startups from all over the world.
There's a lot of international partnerships, so it made a lot of sense for the chamber to be here. Yeah.
So how did you get to the chamber? What brought you there? You know, what brought you here?
So yeah, despite my very British accent, it's one of the first questions always, but French-American, you don't sound either. The truth is I'm not either, but I have strong links to France. I started learning French as a school kid in England, and we all had to learn French and German, and I particularly, something about the French language just clicked with me, and I was like, this is it. I need to learn French. I wanted to become bilingual. I knew my life was going to be, there was going to be involvement with French on some level. And so I did a bachelor's degree in England, international business and French. I got to do a year in Paris as an intern, which just confirmed everything I think I already knew, that I definitely wanted to do something with French in my life. And so after graduation, I moved to France, worked a bit in France, and then France became Switzerland. And then we relocated to the US 6 years ago now.
6 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And then I arrived in this role kind of in a roundabout way. When we moved here, my husband is French, and we decided we wanted to connect with the French community in and around Atlanta, and we thought maybe the chamber was a good place to start.
Right.
And so we joined as members, and then the end of 2021, the past executive director was leaving, and so there was an opening, and had a lot of fingers pointed at me. A lot of people saying, this is a job for you. To which my response was a little bit, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure of what Chambers of Commerce do. It's a non-profit organization as well. So there were a lot of questions I had, but I decided to give it a go. And so since January of 2022, I've been in the leadership role and thoroughly enjoy it.
Good. Well, you know, coming from Europe, I mean, I think any American that would look at that and say, well, you know, Europe, you got like all those countries, you could go all over the place and not be hindered, really, except for maybe from Britain to Europe. Europe, maybe.
A little bit different since Brexit, unfortunately, yes. But anyway, yes.
But, yeah, very different culture, too, very different way of looking at life, I bet. How does it feel being here in the States, though?
This is my first experience of living in the US, so I had no prior experience in anywhere else. We came to Atlanta, this is my benchmark. I didn't know what to expect, to be perfectly honest. I wasn't familiar with Georgia, wasn't familiar with anything to what we were getting into, and the proof is, 6 years on, we absolutely love it here. There's something about the people, there's something just about the environment here. there's such a vibrant international community.
Yes.
There's I don't know, there's just a very welcoming feeling. And we really are surprised, I think, on some level. I think we don't mind saying that. I think we've really felt like this is a new home for us. We came here with kids as well, and they're also doing well. But yeah, I think people are a bit like, but why would you have moved here from Switzerland, which is actually where we were? And the answer is there's a big wide world out there, and sometimes it's good to see something different, and you don't know until you've tried it. So.
You know, I'm thinking she came to the South, okay, so, which is good because this is like America light in a way. Because if you went to the Northeast, where I came from, Brooklyn, New York, or up in New York, I think it would be you might have a different feel for it.
I think so.
Right? So I don't know.
Southern hospitality does seem like it's a thing. I mean, I don't know. It's, there's good and bad everywhere. That's the bottom line.
For sure.
You can choose the bits you want to see, and there's always going to be things that are less good. But honestly, you've got to make the best of where you're living, and that's the way we see it.
For sure. So you've been here 6 years, you've been working the chamber and stuff. Do you find working businesses locally? You're trying to bring business from France to the States.
That's part of the mission. So we kind of have a twofold mission. It is to bring French companies over. If they're thinking about starting up business in Georgia, we are very much there to help them with that. Okay. We have a wonderful network of members that have all sorts of skills, all sorts of different sectors of activity. So, if somebody just rolls up and says, I want to start my business here, we can help them with every aspect, legally, financially, recruiting, all of those things. So it's a nice soft landing. We've got a lot of people that speak French. That will also help them because most of them might speak English, but sometimes it's nice to speak your mother tongue language.
Sure.
And then the second fold is those who are already here to help them develop. So they might have already started their activity, but they do want to expand. They want to get a better network. They want to connect with people, partners, collaborators.
What type of businesses are you seeing wanting to come here?
It's a bit of everything. We don't have one sector that really dominates. I mean, we have a lot of businesses, we have some manufacturing, all sorts of sectors. I mean, it's good and it's difficult because then we can't say, well, we're particularly good at this one thing. So we're kind of a bit of everything. Okay. So everyone has a space, really. Okay.
So dealing with businesses, but you're also dealing with the community and outreach and stuff.
Yeah.
So you started, I believe, a blood drive.
Absolutely.
Some time ago.
Yes.
And part of it came out of, I guess, during COVID, the banning of, we were talking about this before, of blood from any French, UK, or Irish person.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that, because I didn't even realize that.
And that wasn't even just because of COVID. That was a blanket exclusion that was in place for many, many years. So anybody that had lived in France, the UK or Ireland during, I think it was the late 90s, at the time of what was called the mad cow epidemic. It was an unfortunate time where cattle got sick, and there was some question over the fact that it could go into people as well. So by default, people who had been in those countries were not allowed to give blood. Excluded. So I was excluded in Switzerland. I wasn't allowed to give blood there. And then arriving in the US, same exclusion. It was not possible just by default to give blood. And those rules changed in 2023. I think they decided maybe there's a lack of donors always, and so maybe opening up to another category. They still screen the blood. I mean, there's no safety issues, but it's just making it less strict. And the epidemic was over 30 years ago at this point, so anything that was going to happen would have happened, I think, in that time frame. So
I would think so. I remember the craze about that. And it was all about, oh my God, if you eat the wrong meat, you're going to catch, mad cow disease.
I don't know how many people actually ever got infected, or there was. I don't know. I mean, personally, it was something that happened, and then it kind of was no longer a thing. But for whatever reasons, out of an abundance of precaution, they wanted to keep it under control.
And most people, I don't think, know that blood isn't. When blood's donated, it's sort of remanufactured into other. I mean, there's multiple blood donations within even one pack.
Yes, absolutely. So there's whole blood, which is just giving the whole blood. You can donate plasma. You can donate platelets as well. Different blood groups are in more or less demand because there's a universal donor. So if you're a group O negative, that's the golden. Everyone wants that blood because everyone can receive that blood. So they want all the blood groups, obviously. But there's always a lack of donors, always, because people don't think about donating. It's it's not something that's in your everyday life unless you've had a personal reason to get involved.
Right.
Quite often it's something that, you might know someone who does it, but it's never necessarily number one on your to-do list.
Right. So let's go there for a minute.
So yeah, that's.
You had a real personal reason.
I did, absolutely. So even before we moved to the US, my son at the age of 12 and a half got very, very sick. He was diagnosed with leukemia. It came out of the blue. We were in Switzerland at the time. He was a healthy, happy kid. Nothing predisposed this happening. There were no forewarnings. It just was a shock out of the blue. Leukemia starts in the bone marrow. It's a white blood cell that mutates and becomes cancerous, and that's kind of it. It then snowballs into a pretty devastating diagnosis. Leukemia is not like a lot of other cancers. There's no tumor. You can't have radiotherapy. Right. It's in the bloodstream, so it's everywhere. And it's treated with a very, very, very large number of chemotherapy doses intravenously. So within the first year alone, he had over 100 intravenous injections of chemotherapy. So some weeks it was 4 days out of 5 at the hospital. Sometimes he was in overnight. We had to pre-hydrate and post-hydrate because of the toxicity. He had a chest port because they can't go in regular veins. Yeah, it's too toxic. So you had a chest port that stays in place. And it's brutal. It's very, very devastating. You imagine a child, a 12-year-old, not understanding why this is happening, all the horrific side effects from the chemo, hair loss, nausea. It's just shocking. He missed a lot of school, a lot of time in hospital, and so we ploughed through all of that. And normally at the end of 9 months of treatment, we'd get to a different phase of the protocol, which would have been slightly easier, a bit less chemo, a bit less time in hospital, called the maintenance phase. And very unfortunately for poor Theo, when we were ending the intensive phase and getting towards this part that should be better, everything took a turn for the worse. We didn't know why. Again, there was a lot of confusion, a lot of unknown. He had contracted an intestinal parasite.
At the hospital?
At home or at the hospital, we don't know where. I mean, we weren't going anywhere or doing anything, so it's very improbable that would even happen. But his immune system, which was pretty much non-existent at that point, this thing had obviously got in there, and any normal person, you'd get rid of it, but his body wasn't able to do that, and it set up a horrible situation. He was losing weight almost by the day. When they found this parasite, they treated it, couldn't get rid of it, and things just kept going downhill. And we ended up with an absolutely critical situation just before Christmas 2017. It was an emergency situation. Everything was crashing. It turned into septicemia, so septic shock, an infection everywhere in his body, which can kill in a matter of hours. So it was a case of emergency surgery. They had to operate on him in his hospital bed. They didn't even have time to get him to the operating block.
Oh, wow.
And they put him on a machine called ECMO, which was actually used during COVID patients.
Yeah, was that the ventilation machine?
So kind of, it's not actually ventilation. It does the job of the heart and lungs outside of the body.
Yes, that's right. I think it was misnamed ventilation when it really wasn't.
No, and his lungs were what got completely infected. So there was no oxygen exchange between his blood and the lungs that were just not functioning. So they had to put him on this machine, which in itself is brutal surgery. It's open heart surgery, and it's 2 big tubes that are fixed onto the body that come out. The machine's on the floor next to the bed. It takes out the carbon dioxide. It puts back in the oxygen. Then he was on dialysis because his kidneys weren't doing well as well. He was on a ventilator to breathe.
He was 12 years old at the time,
He was, yes, 12. 13. Sorry, he turned 13, but yeah.
How was he?
He was in an artificially induced coma at that point because he just needed to be on life support. He was totally unaware of what was going on. We were watching him. Yeah. We had no concept of what was happening. It was so beyond the realms of anything you've ever seen or take a moment because it was a lot. It was very, very, very difficult. And
he has siblings too, right?
He has an older sister, yeah. And
how'd she take that?
She just watched him like we did, in a coma, or this body attached to tubes and, with the machine breathing for him. And it was just a case of hoping. And sometimes it was minute by minute. It was very much, there is nothing but what's happening right now. It's and you look at the doctors, a bit like the movies, and you you sort of say to them, do everything you can.
Yeah.
But you can see that they're not sure. You know, there was...
Do you mind me asking which hospital this was?
It was in Lausanne. It was near to it was the hospital, the Centre Hospitalier Universitaire de Lausanne, which is the hospital, the University Hospital of Lausanne.
Okay.
Luckily, they're super well equipped. They have staff that are amazing, and without a shadow of a doubt, those people saved his life. He's still in contact with some of them. I'm still in contact with some of them, yes. I mean, there's a bond there that goes beyond sort of patient caregiver.
Almost like saviors.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and we're still in contact because, so, I mean, his story was, I mean, it's difficult to do it chronologically, but he was in a very, very bad space. He received a ton of blood transfusions. That surgery in itself, he hemorrhaged. There were times when he was on the machine. The machine kind of, it keeps you alive, but it also destroys the blood. Mm-hmm. Blood doesn't like going into anything sort of machine-based. So one time he was lacking so much in volume that they pressed the panic switch. The alarms were blaring and everybody rushed in, and they got syringes of blood that were this fat, and they were pushing it into his system to try and get the volume of his blood up. Wow. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it really felt like it was an out-of-body experience.
Well, you were learning also quite a bit.
Learning a lot about what happens behind the scenes. You know, most people never get, and I'm glad most people will never see that, but honestly, the perspective, I was sad at that point because all I wanted to do was give blood, not to my son directly, but my husband and I, we thought, let's do something to help someone else who might be in this situation, and we couldn't. So it felt rough. You're already helpless. Yeah. Then the one thing you think that you might be able to do, you can't, just because of these rules that are in place. So it was frustrating. He, by some miracle or other, came through. We stopped treating the leukemia. I mean, we were just kind of getting him through the infection.
How old was he at that point?
So when he woke, so he was in the coma for, I think, just over a month. Okay. He missed Christmas, New Year, woke up in January the next year, had a tracheotomy at that point, so he didn't have a voice. Right. Woke up not knowing what had happened during this whole blacked out period. So I'd taken photos, which was weird, but then it was actually good to be able to show him what he'd been through, that whole blank space. Yeah. For me also, I think I needed to somehow document what was going on, make sense of it. And then he had to start with physical therapy because he was just a skinny body. The muscle wastage is crazy. In a matter of weeks, he was just a tiny little frail thing, and he could just sit up. And then he had to learn how to stand up again, and then he had to learn how to walk again and get some muscle strength, and very, very long process, but he came through it. And again, it was down to his willpower, because as a parent, the one thing you want to do is take all of that. Even the cancer, I said to him, I would do this for you. Mm-hmm. There's not a part of me that doesn't want to swap places right now, but I can't. Unfortunately, you've got to do this. And we're a team, and I will help you in any way I can, but the strength has got to come from inside of you. So he's.
So you were there quite a bit of time.
Yeah. I didn't leave the hospital for lots and lots of months. I slept upstairs in a consultation room because I just couldn't bear to not be there. And when they're in the ICU, there's no space for a parent to have a bed there. It's not made for that. So I would just go upstairs, my little suitcase, and come back. And I used to read to him when he was in the coma, just read, because I didn't know what to do. And apparently people can hear you when they're in a coma, so really? I don't know. Okay. Sometimes his heart rate would go up a little bit, and when I would read, it would go back down, and the nurses said, it's because your voice is calming. He's heard it from before he was born, and I was like, I don't know, but I'm going to go with that because I felt like I was doing something, and at that time, that was all I could do, so.
Did you had people supporting you too?
Yes, I was, I mean, my family came over from England because all my family was in England, but we had friends, we had people in the community that helped, and the staff at the hospital are also, they're the angels because they do this for a living, and I was lucky. My employer, even at the time, I didn't lose my employment. They were just more concerned about me and my son, so, and, it just... My husband and I, it just really sort of soldered us together and in an even tighter bond to have to go through something as crazy as that.
And I would imagine European healthcare is a little different.
It is different, yes. And I think had it have happened here, I'm not quite sure the costs that would have been involved because this healthcare system is quite different. Switzerland's also private, but a lot of it was taken care of. There were some financial burdens, but there are also charities that try and help with that kind of thing because it's a lot for families to have to go through.
So once he came out of the coma, once he came into remission,
Yes.
He's been in remission 5 years?
He's been in remission for 5 years, yeah.
And that's a key mark.
It is, absolutely. So after he came out of the coma, that was when we were entertaining the coming to the US, and we had to make sure that was all going to be okay, that the treatment, because the treatment was going to continue. So we did. We went through all the stages. Were the doctors okay with us moving here? The answer was yes. Did the insurance cover the move here? The answer was yes. So then we had the do we do it or do we not do it? And when we asked both children, Theo was absolutely yes, I want to go there right now. He needed to kind of turn the page.
Yeah.
And I think the move here was so great for all of us, actually. And we didn't know at the time. It was kind of a leap of faith because we didn't know what we were getting into. It was a big change at quite a critical time. But we decided to make it happen. And he was still having treatments. So when we got here, still having chemotherapy.
If you don't mind me asking again, which hospital are you doing?
So it was the Children's Right.
Children's,
at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, Scottish Rite Hospital.
So you
amazing.
Felt really good with them too?
They were phenomenal. They'd read his file that was not a normal file, and they knew things that were such detail. I was like, these people have read everything. So I trusted them blindly. There were no complications in the last part of his treatment. He was still having treatment though when COVID hit.
Oh wow!
So that was scary.
Yeah, I would imagine infection or something like
exactly, that. Exactly, lungs. I had visions of the ECMO and the coma, and I was like, I don't know if I can cope going back there. Yeah. He had the vaccine very early. He caught COVID, but a long time afterwards, and it was fine. And so in May of 2020, you were referring to the milestone. So he finished his treatment. May 2020, had lots of checkups. It's not something you just finish and you're good. They still want to make sure that you're okay. Oh, yeah. And they get less and less frequent. And then May of 2025, so next month, the biggest milestone yet, 5 years. 5 years after the last chemo, 5 years of remission, still doing well.
Wow.
Now at college.
Really?
So he did his high school. He arrived here as a freshman at high school. He did his 4 years, and now he's a freshman at college at UGA.
What does he want to be?
He wants to be a pediatric oncologist.
Inspiration from the weirdest place.
Yes,
right?
yeah. I mean, clearly it changed him fundamentally. It changed all of us. I mean, there's no way that life is the same.
I can't even imagine that. I can't imagine a child. I mean, I have 3 kids. I cannot imagine what you went through.
Yeah, there was a lot, and it's still just under the surface, even if it's 5 years and the diagnosis was even before that. But some of it is just so. Yeah, it will never not be an emotional subject, and that's why I want to do things to give back and things to help, and that's where we get back into the blood drive.
That's right. So you started wanting to do that through the chamber.
Exactly. 2023, we realized we can give blood. My husband and I are like, this is amazing. We have wanted to do this since 2017. Yeah. We finally can. We both give blood. And then I'm like, you know what? I think that most people in the French, also British and Irish, but I'm working for the French Chamber, I am convinced that most people don't know the rules have changed. There will be people that have given blood in France or given blood in various parts of their lives, but feel that, have been told that they can't.
Right.
This is huge. We need to get the message out.
So that's what you're doing now.
So I'm like, now I can use my professional role as the executive director of the chamber. I can talk to the French population of Atlanta, with the consulate, the Consul General of France, with all the other French entities, and just get the word out there. You guys can give blood. I think blood donating also dipped during COVID. Obviously, it was a very strange world, and I think maybe people that used to give haven't got back into it. I have seen firsthand blood donating saves lives. My son would not be here today without people, strangers, that gave their blood that he got. Now, I can't thank them personally. A lot of blood. I mean, I think he had over 50 transfusions, and I'm throwing that number out there a little bit randomly because I can't remember, but a lot of transfusions. So for me personally, this is huge, and I just want to inspire people to think about it. Think, if you've never given, give it a go. If you have given and it's been a long time, revisit it. One blood donation can save up to 3 lives. Oh, wow. Which is,
So tell people, because some people that don't know about, what it takes to donate blood. How long does it take? How much are they donating?
Yeah, it's really not hard. So the blood drives that we do here at the Curiosity Lab, they're run by the Red Cross, the American Red Cross. Right. So I offered myself up as a blood leader. So I put together the place, the location, we figure out all the logistics, and I invite everyone, and then the Blood Cross come with all of their staff, with the beds, all the material. They set up here. I just basically get as many appointments as I can because we have a goal of units that we want to collect during the drive.
Right.
The regular blood donating is pretty quick. Funny things, it turns on how quickly it drips out.
Yeah, yes.
Some people it's super fast, some people it's a bit slower.
Yeah.
It's going to be like 10, 15 minutes around that,
So
nothing
it's not
more.
long
It's
or
not
anything?
long, no. And it's no worse than just having the needle stick that you have when you go to the doctor once a
Right,
year.
right.
Realistically, I know the needle stays in there, but it's not
Yeah.
worse. You know, you're just sitting there,
Yeah,
and then afterwards you get snacks, you get drinks.
so you get treated.
We have a company that sponsor Worth and give us donuts
Yes.
to eat afterwards. So, and it's a real sense of community. And I know a lot of people don't like needles. A lot of people, it's like a horrible idea to have this thing in your arm and see blood. I would advise just don't look. I used to hate blood, but honestly, after what I went through with my son, you kind of just get hardened to it. And you know what? You think to yourself, I don't like this, but what if I'm saving someone's life?
Yes, for sure.
What if it was my child? What if it was my parent? What if it was someone in my family? Wouldn't I just hope that other people have gone beyond
Yeah.
to give it the best shot they can to donate? So this is you know.
So for those, I'm bad about it. I mean, I can faint after a needle. Unfortunately, they have to put a butterfly needle, I think it's called, and maybe because it's just smaller and easier. Because you got to fast the night before. This is the normal thing. The blood test at
Oh yeah, you don't
for
have
your normal physical, but otherwise you don't have to.
no
fast
no
for that
fasting
stuff.
at all. No,
Yeah.
you need to eat well,
Yeah,
drink well. There's
just make
there's
sure.
lots of advice that they will
Yeah.
give you beforehand to set yourself up for a success.
So for the ones that don't want to roll up their sleeves and donate blood, what can they do?
They can spread the word.
Okay.
They can talk to their colleagues, their family, their neighbours, their communities, their clubs, their whatever it is. Spreading the word is the hardest thing. It's,
Yeah.
we don't have big means to go publicly telling everybody about this blood drive, but it's going to be on World Blood Donor Day, the
Right,
next
June
one,
14th?
June 14th, exactly. It's a Saturday, 11:30 to 4:30. You can book your slot.
It's going to be here?
It's going to be here in this
Okay.
room. Yeah. You can book your appointment. They will take walk-ins, but if you want to be taken at a specific time, better to take that appointment option because then
Sure.
you'll have more of a chance of knowing when you're going to be taken. If you don't know your blood group, you'll find out.
Oh, they'll tell you on the
They will
spot?
not on the spot. Afterwards,
Okay.
they will tell you what blood
Okay.
group you are, which could be useful.
It's kind of funny because most people might not know that because when you do your blood test at the
They won't tell you
doctors,
that.
they don't tell you.
no.
Unless you ask them specifically to
Yeah.
test for it.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
really
A lot of people won't ever know their blood group. They will also do screening for pre-diabetes at the moment for free.
Okay.
So that's also an additional thing, which is kind of cool. You can figure out if you're maybe heading towards something a bit less healthy, and you can maybe take, the steps to correct it.
Sure.
And
Well, that's good to know.
they have an app. You will know which hospital your blood was used at.
Oh, really?
Yes.
They track that
They
down?
track it, and you get a little alert, and then you get a little heart. And I have a map
That's
where
kinda
all
cool.
so I tend to give platelets, but and we're not going to get into that. It's a bit more, it's longer, a bit more complicated, but similar process. My platelets have gone to Savannah, they've gone down to Mobile, Alabama, to Birmingham, to all kinds of places, and you can track that on a map.
It's almost like you're gamifying the whole thing of
Well,
blood donation.
I mean, a little bit, but
Yeah,
isn't
yeah.
it nice to know that someone in that hospital
Oh,
has
absolutely.
received something that I gave?
Yes.
That's the whole point. It makes it more real.
Yes, it does.
I know where it's gone.
Yeah.
And
Versus
platelets
just
have a-
being out there.
Exactly, it's just gone into the ether and you don't
ether,
know.
right,
Whereas I think to have that follow-up, and then there's points, and they've kind of really, sometimes they give you T-shirts. I should have been wearing a T-shirt today, I didn't think about it. I went with the French, the French
shirt,
logo
okay.
today. But no, there's little giveaways, and it's just about community, and it's about, what you can do on a very personal, small level to help somebody that's in need. Because if you're getting a blood transfusion, there's something not great.
Oh, yeah.
Surgery, childbirth, accidents, cancer patients. There's a whole host of people that need blood, and honestly, if they need blood, they're not in a great way. So we all rely on other people, strangers, to help in that scenario.
And there's not enough blood out there.
Never
actually.
enough. No, there's always a shortage. Bad weather can affect it. Environments, holidays, all sorts of things can really affect the supply, and they need a a flow of donors and people to give regularly.
So where can they go to?
They can basically, I'm trying to think, the easiest way would be to look on the events page of our website.
Of the chamber website?
Yes. So our website is FACC, so French American Chamber of Commerce. The letters FACC-Atlanta.com.
Okay.
And then there's an events section, and in that event section there is a link to the blood drive.
Excellent. We'll have the link in the podcast notes as well. So they should do it as soon as possible.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Enrollment is from now. I'm just
Yes.
going to be pushing it out, and just spread the word. That's my ask.
And I almost don't want to say this, but there's also another date a little further away.
Yes, in September.
In September.
Yeah,
so
I think
if you're on vacation,
yeah, exactly.
you could do the September date.
We're doing 3 this year. We set the target of 3 drives this year. We might do it quarterly next year, but that's the aim, is just to keep spreading the word.
Right, and it's going to be done here at Curiosity Lab. And the 14th is what day is that?
Saturday.
Saturday.
It's a Saturday.
There's no excuse. Okay?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Eat your fill, eat a good breakfast, come on down and give some blood, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Excellent.
make a difference.
Yes, for sure. So we've been here talking with Katherine Lafourcade, if I'm pronouncing that.
That was fine.
Thanks. My last name's Figliolini, and I mess that up sometimes. But I appreciate you spending time with me and talking about your son Theo and the experience that you went through.
You're welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having me.
No, thanks, Katherine. Thank you, everyone.